Welcome, and thanks for listening to Cherry Becker's Not-for-Profit podcast series. In each episode, we hear from the best in the business on the latest challenges, trends, and opportunities affecting not-for-profit organizations and educational institutions. I'm Matthew Saha, leader of Cherry Becker's Not-for-Profit Industry Practice. I hope you enjoy, and thanks for listening. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Not-for-Profit podcast series. This is Matthew hosting today, and I've got two awesome guests with us. Today, we have John Fedus and Amelia Crawford here to help me kick off our 2024 podcast series. Today, we'll be consulting with each of our own crystal balls, so to speak, to help predict what we think are going to be some of the top trends in the not-for-profit industry for 2024. I'm excited to dive right into this, but first, John, Amelia, can you just take a minute, introduce yourselves to the listeners and give a little background on the market you serve and the types of NFPs you work with? John?
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, this is John Fedus. So I'm a partner in the Chicago office of Cherry Becker. I lead the nonprofit team in the Chicago area. Been in public accounting for a number of years, and I work mainly with about 5 different type of nonprofit niches: social service, association, higher ed and charter schools, religious orgs, and private and public foundations. And yeah, just looking forward to be able to talk through some of the key topics and trends that we think are going to impact nonprofits this year.
Great. Thanks, John.
Hey, everybody. I'm Amelia Crawford. I'm in our Raleigh-Durham market. In this nonprofits for a good chunk of time. I'm similar to John, working with a lot of different social service organizations and religious organizations and some higher ed. So excited to be here and talk about the trends we're seeing.
Great. Well, let's dive right into it. And here's the format. So I asked you guys come up with 1 or 2 top trends for 2024 for not-for-profits. So we'll sort of do this round robin style, and each of us can maybe introduce our topic, maybe claim why you think it is an important trend that we'll be focused on for 2024, and then we can see each other's reactions to each one of these. So I'm interested to see what we all came up with. And John, maybe I'm going to put you in the hot seat first and just say, what's your top trend or 2 for 2024?
So as I look at the calendar first, though, today, Matt, my old basketball coach would always say, let the madness begin. And I have to say that probably one of the most maddening things to our nonprofit is finding good resources to work with them. It is definitely the number one question I get from clients all the time. How can I attract professionals to work for our organizations? And the challenges has been meeting salary, benefits, demands, the remote work, which we'll talk about a little more after resources. What do you see in the market, John? What's happening? Do you have any things you've seen in the trends? Probably the biggest thing I've seen with some nonprofits is they're really pushing the hardest I've ever seen social media to try to find new staff and professionals, LinkedIn and other social medias. But the number one way that clients are dealing with it is through outsourcing. Outsourcing has become the most prevalent way nonprofits have been dealing with the issue because of the frustrations of having to hire a new person and then see that person leave in 3 to 6 months for another opportunity. And so using an outsourced firm at least gives continuity to be able to have a firm that knows your business. Yes, they may transition people as well, but they have a team that's been consistent with your account. So that's definitely the keyest thing that I've seen and related to resources in that particular area. On the remote work side, this is going to be something that we're going to see playing out over the next 3, 4, 5 years. Nobody has the right answer right now on remote work. The issue becomes with a lot of nonprofits that I've talked with is they're worried about the culture of their organizations. I would say probably about a quarter of my nonprofits now don't even have a home office. They work from home. Everybody works from home, or the ones that do have the normal home office that we're used to working with those clients, they maybe come in 1, 2, 3 days a week. I haven't seen any trends yet that I can 100% say this is what the way most nonprofits, but it does seem 2 to 3 days in the office is the most common. But there's a delicate balance versus that number and then trying to hire people, because most of the younger professionals want to have a lot of time where they work from their home office and not have to deal with the commute. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out in the coming years.
John, I couldn't agree with you more on this topic. I mean, I have seen several of our clients sell their office buildings, right? Coming out of the pandemic. Hey, we don't need it anymore. Let's just take the cash, and maybe we're sitting on some valuable real estate. As an audit partner, I am now dealing with the outsourced accountants all the time, right? We're getting into audit field work and saying, oh, that person's no longer here, and now we're outsourcing that. And of course, we're getting a lot of inquiries for that ourselves as well. So I think you're spot on. I totally agree with this trend. Couldn't agree with it more. And in fact, Mecklenburg County, which is in the county which Charlotte, North Carolina sits in, they have just announced back to 5 days a week in the office starting this July. And I cannot wait to see the trickle down effect that will have on the employment market here, and what folks are going to do about making that decision to come back into the office 5 days a week. Crazy. All right. So let's turn the table now and move on to Amelia. Amelia, you are in the hot seat. What is one of your top trends?
Well, I think this kind of goes along with what John really was just talking about. But my one of the trends that I feel like is likely to happen is more investment in the technology that the nonprofits have. I think up until this point, we've seen a lot try to balance where they need to spend that money versus not. But as they go remote, as they have the resource issues, they're starting to hit that kind of point where they've got to make that investment in technology, really be efficient with the time that they're having their staff use. And so I've seen a lot more start looking into better platforms, things that are really designed for nonprofits to use, rather than just piecemeal all of that work in Excel that's not happening in the system, or trying to track, contributions and restrictions outside of their systems. And it just becomes really inefficient when you're struggling for physical resources on your team and you're dealing with a remote environment. You've really got to make that leap and jump into the technology.
I agree with you too, John. Thoughts?
I think new financial reporting systems is going to be critical to success. The issue there, though, with nonprofits as well, is they'll have teams come in, and then the first people know the first year of how everything works. And then as it goes on, you might lose some of the team members, or you have some additions or modules that you want to add. And then all of a sudden, people start having problem integrating certain sections with the main GL system. So that's going to be a constant area that nonprofits will have to monitor as well.
Yeah.
I think what will be interesting, though, is there's a lot of tech-based groups now looking for ways to work with nonprofits. We've seen it in the Raleigh-Durham market, especially Durham with their big tech focus, and doing kind of that crossover work of combining tech into nonprofit and being nonprofit focused, so that they can either help other nonprofits through grants or be able to help with coding and things like that to kind of get things moving for them. So it'll be interesting to see, as everybody, I feel like, the newest generation coming in is really going to be pushing on what's your impact as an organization. And hopefully we can see more tech going in that direction to help nonprofits, because they obviously need that investment.
Yeah. I totally agree with this trend as well. I mean, and the other cautionary tale, right, is like technology does not solve all problems. Like it's the human element with the technology and the processes and training. All those things have to happen together. But totally agree. A lot of folks looking for new platforms right now. All right, so that puts me in the hot seat. So here I'm going to. Curious how you react to this. I think technology plays a part in this one, but not quite the same as what you're talking about, Amelia. But for me, it's all about enhancing the ease of the donor's digital contribution experience. So Hear me out for a second on this one. So I think this is an area that's sort of all encompassing of having, this seamless online giving experience coupled with sort of the focus on digital marketing, digital fundraising initiatives. So, I mean, like you, I'm sure you guys have had this experience. I'm still surprised that in this day and age, as an individual contributor to a variety of not-for-profits, it can sometimes take me 10 to 15 minutes to complete multiple screens worth of data and credit card information or my bank account and create a login and sign in, all to make $100 contribution, to an organization that is a very worthy organization. And I know there's several times where I've made a conscious decision to make a donation only to abandon it because I've run out of time. My next meeting is up and it took me too long to get through the process of making a gift because they're using outdated or cumbersome online giving platforms or websites. So I think huge trend for not-for-profits. If they want the millennials and the Gen Z givers to be engaged out there, they've got to adapt their giving experience to include more mobile responsive donation pages and a variety of payment options like Venmo and Apple Pay and Google Pay and PayPal and all these things, and create a more simple and intuitive interface for these donors. And then most importantly, not to forget that in addition to sort of the technology optimizations on giving, to not miss out on the element of the emotional aspect of connecting with the donor. So continuing the use of, storytelling and visual impacts and other clear calls to action to motivate those donors. And then ultimately, give you emotional rewarding experience when you click the button to donate your money. So I think that's huge and will continue to be huge for 2024, but would love your thoughts, guys. What do you think?
Yeah, Matthew, I agree 100%. If you don't adapt, you're going to leave money on the table. The old dinosaurs like myself still probably like to do the old school way, but that's not the way that people should do it going forward. All the ways you were describing is definitely how nonprofits should do it. And I would push 100% behind exactly what you're saying to make donor contributions as easy as possible.
I've absolutely been there too, where I'm trying to make a donation and it's taking so many clicks. I'm running out of time between meetings or whatever, and I'm not able to put, my card in easily. Or ones that the forms don't connect. I don't know if you guys have this with your phone. So if I can't get it to auto load my card, I mean, I don't have cash or a card anywhere near me. I just need it to connect in, And so absolutely, I think this is a number one thing for them. Have a way at events, things like that people can just scan a QR code, go one click to on your site, make a donation. And I think it's going to make a big impact to keep it as easy as possible for people, because the days of having cash in your pocket at an event to donate to something or to pull out a checkbook, I mean, I don't even carry a checkbook around with me. So if it's not online, I don't know what to do.
I bet you John has his checkbook with him at all times, being the dinosaur that he is.
My wife has monopolized that, unfortunately.
All right. Well, all right. So, John, you had sort of 2 in 1. So I'm going to actually toss it back to Amelia. And Amelia, another trend for 2024. What do you think?
Yeah, another thing I've been noticing is kind of the overlapping missions that can happen with nonprofit organizations paired with, the scarcity of resources that just inherently exist for nonprofits, and finding good grant funding and large donations to really make an impact for them. And so I think going into 2024 and the future, collaboration with other nonprofits, especially when you have those overlapping missions and visions, I think is going to be a big, deal changer for them. I think when you look at things like events and really trying to make an impact on community, you and other nonprofits could potentially pair up, bring, your known donors together and just kind of elevate from there. And there's even times where you see nonprofits combining and really coming together so that they can offset those personnel costs, offset, the technology costs, things like that, and kind of work together as one organization to serve their populations in a more efficient way. I think it's going to be a way that they can make a bigger impact.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a trend I've been seeing too. I mean, multiple clients in a lot of different segments, healthcare or some of the membership-based organizations or those folks that are aligning and saying, well, we're covering this geographical area, and there's another organization covering this geographical area, but our missions and program services are essentially the same. And why don't we just combine those missions and organizations either through some sort of JV or actually, doing a merger between the two organizations to have those efficiencies and the economies of scale that come with a larger organization. So I'm with you. I agree with you, John. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you ask most people, there's too many nonprofits and too many that do the same thing in the same areas. So we have been seeing a lot more activity of collaboration and especially more of mergers and acquisitions. They're hard deals because the boards don't like to give up their power of the two entities. That's usually the most difficult part of any merger or acquisition, but the ones that do reap the benefits every time that I've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me round us out with my last top trend, and I think this one is not going to surprise anyone. I bet you this is what the listeners were waiting for, and they're like, I bet you this is the one, and they're probably right, which is really artificial intelligence, right? It's a big word. So, but there's a quote that I think is great, and I have no idea where it came from, so I can't give the author credit here. But the quote is, "AI won't replace people, but the people that use AI will replace those that don't." So I think that's so true. I think the fact is that there's no exception for not-for-profits. The ones that are going to begin to use artificial intelligence in new and innovative ways are going to have the competitive advantage and definitely outperform those that do not use AI. I think maybe we could all agree. But listen, we could obviously devote an entire episode to the subject matter of AI, and maybe we will. I think maybe we need to spend a little bit more time on that and sort of go deeper into it. But I think this is going to be huge. I think it may be the biggest trend of 2024, just because, listen, there's so many use cases for AI right now in the not-for-profit space: fundraising, membership, accounting tasks, marketing, communication, governance, program service delivery, donor relations. There's so many different ways that you could start to use a lot of the tools that are out there in all of these different functional areas of the organization. And the list could go on. And but there are ways to start engaging with AI like right now that are very low cost, very low barrier to entry. And I think NFPs are going to start doing this in full force in 2024 and beyond. So the integration of AI, it's an important strategy, but it's not just about keeping up with technology. It's about leveraging it for greater success in the overall mission of the organizations. So a lot of things to talk about out there. Also, obviously there's baggage that comes with AI too. People need to understand it. Boards need to understand it, what the different use cases are, how it's going to be deployed. Anytime you're using new technologies like these AI chatbots and so forth that are out there, it's going to be crucial that not-for-profits figure out how to deal with those integrations with that tech and still have, all the ethical considerations and the right balance of empathy and donor trust and remaining authentic, to their customers and to their donors. So a lot more to come with that topic. Like I said, I think we can devote an entire episode to it. But what do you guys think? Is AI number one? Is it just in the top six? What do you guys think?
I think it goes along with everything we've been talking about, right? With the lack of resources, the need for technology, the scarcity of resources for contributions. And this is the way that they can really feel that impact, and make a dent in the other trends. So whether or not it's number one, I think it sits right up there with all of them because it's a way to kind of alleviate some of those other issues.
Definitely agree that you set it up as a good teaser for a future podcast because the listeners are probably going to want to know more about each of the various areas that you just brought up, and you just rolled through them super fast. And a lot of people probably don't even have an idea of what a lot of each of those things that AI can help them in certain ways. So if we go forward in a future podcast with an AI, we can really dig in a little more.
I think we'll definitely have to do that. So awesome. Well, guys, this has been incredibly fun. Thank you so much for joining me today. And in the spirit of AI, guys, as I was kind of researching that topic, I found an AI chatbot on the web designed to create dad jokes. And I used it to create a joke based on the topics that we've discussed today. Do you guys want to hear this joke?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. So the joke that was made up was, did you hear about the bakery that started a charity organization dedicated to helping people with bad puns? They're hoping to raise some dough while spreading awareness for their cause. So truly a bad pun. I mean, but I guess like not the greatest joke I've ever heard, but I mean, I was impressed that I found this within 5 minutes and it was able to generate that joke for me. So again, John, Amelia, thank you so much for being with me on this episode. I look forward to talking to both of you guys in future episodes as well. And thank you to listeners out there, and we'll see you next time. This is Matthew again. I hope you enjoyed this episode and look forward to our next one. Don't forget to subscribe.